One of my most favorite Disney animated movies of all time is Lady and the Tramp. Aside from Aladdin, The Lion King, The Emperor's New Groove, to this day the movie remains a timeless classic, not only amongst the Disney community, but in popular culture as well, although the movie didn't start off greatly at first. One day I was sitting at my computer playing Fortnite. Eventually I got bored and decided to exit the game and do something else. At this moment, a feeling of nostalgia struck me as I remember all the games I used to play as a child. No reason why though. I decided to go on eBay and search for vintage Disney video games to buy. While I was scrolling down to the page to see which games that would catch my interest, I came across something that I would have never expected to exist. The name of the item was Lady and the Tramp the Game CDR. The image right next to the item was a photo of a blank Sony CDR disc with the words Lady and the Tramp written on it in Sharpie. I found it kind of peculiar that there would be such a thing as Lady and the Tramp the Game, as I never recalled Disney ever making a game based on the movie. However, I decided to buy the game anyway, obviously out of curiosity. 2 days later, a package was left at my door by a UPS delivery man. I came outside and took the package inside and cut open the box to reveal the same disc from the image on eBay. I proceeded to walk to my computer and insert the disc into my computer disk tray while waiting for the game to load. I was wondering what this unknown Lady in the Tramp game would be like. After 30 seconds, a text reading downloading ROM appeared on the screen. The game was downloaded onto my computer. Once the download was completed, the icon appeared on my screen. It was a picture of a 3D Mickey Mouse symbol, appearing as if it was rendered on a Windows 95, with the text below it read, Lady in the Tramp Game.exe. I clicked on the icon and the configuration tab opened the screen. The preview of the picture was still in frame with the iconic scene from the movie, in which Lady and Tramp accidentally kiss each other throughout the opposite ends of the pasta noodle, with the movie's logo on the bottom left corner. There were no options to change the screen resolution or controls, but there were two buttons, start and cancel. I clicked the start button and the game loaded. Once the game started, I was immediately greeted with a legal copyright notice on screen, followed by the Disney Interactive logo, although I noticed that it appeared to be blurry. After the logo faded out, the title screen appeared. It was the same picture from the configuration tab, and there were three options on the screen, play game, settings, and exit game. The background music was the familiar song Bella Notte. I clicked on play game and then the screen cut to black. I waited for a while just to see what would come up first, but it seemed that the screen was going to stay black, or so I thought. Just as I was about to hit the exit button, the text came onto the screen, even accompanied by a deep low frequency beep. It appeared to be summarizing a story. The text read, the following night after Lady came back from the pound. The game opened up with a scene with Jock and Trusty going to check up on Lady after she was taken home from the dog pound. The clip of the scene was ripped straight from the movie, yet its quality was oddly poor, almost as if it was recorded with a hypercam. Jock and Trusty walked over to the doghouse where Lady resides and peeked. Lassie? Miss Lady, ma'am. Please, I don't want to see anybody. After Lady spoke that line, what happened inside of Jock and Trusty trying to talk to Lady's problems over and cheer her up. They said okay and decided to leave Lady alone. They just leave the yard as Lady peeked her head out of the doghouse to see that nobody was around. I found it strange considering that this never happened in the movie. The game paused on Lady, lying her head down while trying to give a forlorn look on her face. 5 seconds pass and then we go to another scene that's also never happened in the movie. The background had graphics reminiscent of the Sega Genesis, and somber music began playing. In this scene, we see Lady crying as she softly said to herself, Why? Why would he do this to me? I sat there wondering what was going on, as I continued to stare at the melancholy face of Lady. He had to get me involved in that stray activities, and I was left to be caught and taken straight to that accursed pound, not to mention all the fine fiancés he's had in the past before me. Suddenly Lady stopped crying and the music stopped playing. At this point I knew some things were starting to take a turn for the worst. Lady's expression of sadness turned into an expression of contempt immediately afterwards as a result of remembering what the past stray dogs from the pound had told her about Tramp. Then her next line was this, Wait a minute. Past girlfriends. Now I really see what's going on here. He thinks he could just get it away with falling in love with a girl, then dumping her in exchange for another. How sickening. As I watched Lady continue ranting about Tramp's past, her face started to look angrier and angrier with each bypassing word that came out of her mouth. She said to herself, "That lying, unfaithful cheat. He made me such a huge fool out of all the other girls, and I'm sure he might do the same to me. Well, who needs him?" After she finished speaking that line, Lady took of a fury off her face. I stared at Lady, feeling unsettled. The scene then fell into awkward silence for 10 seconds. After that, we get a zoom in on Lady's face as her eyes slowly transformed to outrage into unusually disturbing as her eyes turned bloodshot with her pupils shrinking. She also gave a psychotic smile. I cringed from what I presumed to be the face of insanity Lady was showing. Then she started speaking in an eerie tone. "Yeah, who needs that liar? I most certainly don't. And those other girls might not either. I bet their lives would be much happier without him." Lady started to look like she was possessed. She was panting heavily as if something scary happens. Her appearance was beginning to change as her teeth were slowly growing longer and more savage looking. She started speaking again. "I'll make it happen. That's what I'll do. I'll remove him from this world, so nobody has to worry about him anymore." As soon as after Lady finished that line, the screen then cut to black. There was nothing but silence until I heard a dog growl emanating from the computer. Then the growl ended, and the more red text appeared on the screen. "Yes, let the malice consume your sanity, and he will pay for what he has done." Once the text disappeared after 5 seconds, a demonic laugh can be heard. Then this game cuts to a level where we see Tramp as the playable character. The level is a sidewalk at night. Immediately more text pops up. I didn't know if Pidge would be sent away to the pound. I wish I could go and save her, but the dog catcher is still looking for me and I might get caught. Suddenly a thought came to Tramp. Oh, what am I thinking about? I guess I have no choice right now. Hang on, Pidge. I'm coming to save you. After the text disappeared, I was in control of Tramp. The entire level consists of obstacles ranging from open sewer manholes to vicious stray dogs. Tramp's attacks consisted of mainly charging towards enemies, as well as his teeth and claws. The sprite animations looked very legitimate, almost like an actual game developers put effort into them. The game mechanics imply that you must avoid obstacles and collect dog bones as you pass through a level. The starting number of lives for Tramp is 5, accompanied by a health bar. If the health bar drains completely, Tramp loses a life. The death animation shows Tramp giving a dizzy look on his face before he lay down to the ground, closing his eyes, similarly to the death animation of young Simba in the Sega Genesis Lion King game. I continued to navigate through the level and defeat more enemies until I was able to reach the ending point, which was obviously the dog pound. Once I entered the pound, the screen faded to black, and results screen appeared and showed the number of bones collected by the time record. I once pressed the enter key and the screen faded to black again. It faded to a cutscene of Tramp walking inside the dog pound. Pidge should be here. I should check on the cage and find her. Then I must bust her out and make her have a run for it before the dog catcher finds me here. Once Tramp says that line, I was back in control of him. This was apparently the next level of the game. The only enemies in this level were watchmen patrolling the pound. If Tramp gets caught simply from a guard's flashlight shining on him, he loses a life and you must start over from the beginning, which I found kind of frustrating, although the level was fair enough to have to give a decent number of patrollers to avoid. Once I was able to sneak all past the guards and reach the ending point, the results screen showed up again and then I pressed the enter key to move on. The screen faded to another cutscene. We see Tramp walking up to a cage number 4 where Lady was once placed before she was taken home. More text appears for Tramp's dialogue reading. I'll ask these dogs first. Maybe they know about Pidge's whereabouts. Excuse me, I'm looking for a certain dog. An American Cocker Spaniel? One of the dogs peeks their heads out to see Tramp standing outside the cage. It was one of the stray dogs named Bull. He began speaking upon the sight of Tramp. Blimey, guys, wake up, it's the Tramp. The other stray dogs woke up from Bull's words and peeked to see Tramp as well. Another one of the strays named Peg begins to speak. Well now, if it isn't the handsome hound himself. What brings you here? Hey, fellas, I'm here to look for a spaniel who was just brought here by the dog catchers. Do you know where she is? Another stray dog named Tuffy spoke in response to Tramp's question. Oh, that dog. She's not here anymore. She was with us in the cage before they take her home due to her having a collar and license. Oh, okay, then. Thanks for telling me. I'll run back to her house and make sure she's okay. I think I also owe her an apology. Anyway, I better skedaddle. Otherwise, the dog catchers will find me and lock me up. Catch you guys later. The stray dogs watch as Tramp runs out of the pound, ready to go find Lady. The next level was the same as the first level, just a sidewalk. I was back in control of Tramp once it began. Now this is where some strange occurrences began to put in action. As I continued to move Tramp through the level, things seemed to look out of place. There were no enemies in sight, just obstacles, and there was also some very unsettling music playing in the background. It sounded like a distorted romantic tune in reverse accompanied by a faint sound that I could barely hear, though I assumed it was the sound of dogs howling, which I found it to be rather monotonous. Throughout the entire level, I was never able to come across any enemies at all. There even weren't any bones to collect. The obstacles were also very easy to avoid, which I found that to be a rather lazy move, but I hit on and continued through the level. Once I was able to avoid the last obstacle, I moved to the ending point, and the results screen appeared again. This time, however, it was different. The front of the words appeared almost like a crudely drawn kindergarten style, with the words were red. There was also something wrong with the time record and number of collected bones. They appeared to be resemble binary codes, flashing random numbers, which was accompanied by a loud glitching noise that caught me off guard and caused me to jump. I was creeped out by the screen, so I pressed the enter key to get away from it as soon as possible. Once I pressed the enter key, the screen faded to another cutscene yet again. Still, it took place on a random sidewalk, although this time I couldn't control Tramp at all. He walks to the right, and as more creepy music can be heard. The howling returned, only this time it was more audible. I knew it was the howling I heard in the previous level. Anyways, we see Tramp walking down the sidewalk until he stops in his tracks and gives the shocked look on his face. The screen scrolls right to reveal Lady sitting with her back turned away from Tramp with her eyes closed. After looking surprised, Tramp is relieved and says, "Oh, Pidge, thank goodness you're safe. What are you doing out here all alone? If I were you, I'd be home safe and sound." Lady didn't say a word. Tramp began to have a suspicious feeling that she was wondering why Lady wouldn't respond. He said, "What's the matter, Pidge? Is something bothering you? Oh, you're angry at me? I guess you deserve an apology from me." The second Tramp finished speaking that line, Lady spoke, and what she said to him was, "That won't be necessary." "But why, though? Listen, Pidge, you can be mad at me for leaving you to be caught and impounded, but at least have a heart big enough to forgive me. I really am sorry." "I am in no need of your apology. Don't even mention that pound. It was a terrible place to be. I was scared for my life and I felt really embarrassed." At this point, Tramp began to feel more suspicious and asked Lady why she wasn't willing to forgive him. Lady replied with, "Do you honestly think it's all a game to you?" Pidge, what are you talking about? I think you should know. Tell me since when you think continuously earning the trust of other girls and pushing them away gets you anywhere in life. What, Pidge? I don't understand what you're trying to say. As soon as Tramp finished with that line, there was more dead silence yet again, only this time it lasted only for 3 seconds. Once it ended, we see a sprite animation of Lady turning around to face Tramp. However, the animation was done at a very fast pace, but it was not the scary part. Once Lady came into full view of the Tramp, there was something very wrong with her. Her appearance had changed entirely. She had pitch black eyes, her teeth were sharp with 2 fangs sticking out. She had long claws sticking out from her paws, and her entire body was covered in glowing red markings that resembled arteries popping out. Lady glared at Tramp with a furious and savage expression, looking like she was ready to attack him. This was accompanied by the sound of an angry dog growling. Tramp jumped at the sight of Lady's terrifying new looks and said, "Oh my god, Pidge, what happened to you?" After that, Lady spoke again. "Don't pretend you don't know what point I'm trying to get you across. You know you did it. What? Those strays told me everything about your past. Tell me, who is Trixie?" "Trixie?" Lady slowly began to walk towards Tramp, and he backed away from her in fear. She continued speaking. "And Lulu, and Fifi, and Rosita, Chiquita, whatever her name is." Chiquita? Oh, yes, her and the others. Well, I can explain. I take everything the strays say to me very seriously. You're a liar, a cheat, a scoundrel, an unfaithful, carefree, aloof mutt. Now, Pidge, I can explain everything. Just take it easy and we could talk about this. You should have thought about that before I was impounded. Now it's time for you to suffer as your well-deserved consequences. Once that line was finished, Lady started charging that Tramp while barking and growling. Tramp just jumped out of the way just in time before Lady could start attacking him. Then he took off running with Lady in pursuit. I was in control of Tramp once again and started moving him to the left as he ran to try to escape Lady. While I was doing this, the screen was corrupted as it let out a loud buzzing noise while flashing random text that I could barely read since it only flashed for a split second. However, I was soon able to make out behind all that flashing. Some of the text read, "Run, it's all your fault. No forgiveness. You can't escape your punishment." Right behind Tramp, Lady was running after him. She appeared to be getting closer and closer. I kept moving Tramp to the left, hoping to outrun her, but it was almost impossible to make out how close she was due to the corrupted screen. This seemed like it was going on for a very long time. I didn't know if I would ever escape Lady, but I was wrong. Suddenly the screen was back to normal and the buzzing stopped. Another cutscene plays, but this time with Tramp running down in towards Tony's restaurant. We see him approaching the same place behind the restaurant where he and Lady had spaghetti. Tramp came to a complete halt, noticing that there was nowhere to run. Another strange thing is that Tony and Joe, the chefs, were not inside the restaurant like they usually were. Tramp says to himself, "Oh no, the restaurant's closed. How am I going to run Pidge now?" Then we see Lady walking towards Tramp slowly, ready to pounce on him. As she approached him, she said to him, "You are not going anywhere. Pidge, please, you don't have to do this. I'm sorry for what I've done, honest." Lady stops once again and gets close enough to Tramp. Then she gives a sinister smile as she spoke. "Remember this place? This is where we ate some delicious pasta before we split apart. Tell you what, how about we talk this over with a lovely dinner?" You really forgive me?" "That's not what I mean. I'm going to do something far away from lovely. You are going to pay for the biggest mistake you've ever made in your entire life." "No, Pidge, please don't do this." "You know what I say?" After that, the screen cut to black. More text appeared on the screen reading, "Our love will be your death, and spaghetti is best served with your own blood. Now let's dine." After the text appeared, what happened next made my heart pound. The screen was still black, but the horrifying sound of a dog yelping, accompanied by meat grinding, and another dog growling emerged from my computer. Thankfully, it was fair enough for at least 5 seconds, but then more text came onto the screen and read, "Game over." I was really freaked out. The text stayed on the screen for another 5 seconds before the game proceeded to crash. Once it crashed, I thought it was it. I opened the disk tray to try to take the disk out quickly, urging myself to destroy it. Suddenly, the beeping sound emerged from my computer. I looked on the screen to notice that the two files had been downloaded, which I found odd. The first file was a .jpeg file by the name of pastaisserved.pjg. I clicked on the file and opened to reveal a terrifying image of to be a dead dog with flies and maggots surrounding its body. I was even more freaked out by the image, so I closed it and decided to look at the second file. It was an unnamed .text file. I clicked on it and the notepad came up and it said, "For this night is a beautiful night, and we call it Killa Notte. Look at the skies without a star in their eyes on this lovely Killa Notte. Side by side by the one you betrayed, you'll find dire consequences here. The night will end with pure darkness, once the one you betrayed is near, for this is the night, and the depths of hell are right, on this lovely Killa Notte." I closed the notepad file and looked back at the disc. At this point, I knew something had to be done. I decided to ring up the Disney about the game to get some answers behind it. I dialed their number and waited for them to pick up. One of the receptionists answered and I asked them about the Disney Lady and the Tramp game that I had just played. I gave them details about its content and other aspects. There was no response. I asked again the second time, still no response. Just I was about to hang up, thinking they were never going to help me. The receptionist finally replied with, "Okay, sir, we're going to give it to you straight. We did not create that game." I was confused. If Disney didn't make the game, then who did? I asked who was responsible for making it and how they knew about it, and they answered with, "We've known about that game for years. 25 years ago, we had a game developer named Joseph Xavier. He worked full time at a Disney Interactive Studios for 5 years, starting in early 1993. He was a talented young man who always helped with sprite animations of games released for the SNES and the Sega Genesis. Unfortunately, he also had a strange man who often never spoke to people. But when he talked to people, he would say some rather disturbing things about himself. It concerned many of our employees and the staff. In late 1997, we found out something about Xavier which he has been hiding from us. Apparently, Xavier was labeled by law enforcement as a convicted animal abuser with a history of mental illness. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole on the account of partaking in illegal activities involving animal cruelty, most notably dogfighting. Because we were informed all this, we fired Xavier on the spot. But a year after his termination, we noticed a blank CDR disc marked with Lady and the Tramp was sitting on the computer. Once he worked at it, we tested the game, and it was revealed to be one of the scariest experiences we've ever had. So we had to get rid of it. The rest of the details we can't explain, but since you found it, we advise you to destroy it by now. I told the receptionist I found the disc on eBay while searching for vintage item games. She was even more creeped out, thus saying, "We should have known about this. Another person found it and it was being passed down by being sold online by people who've played it. They should have smashed the disc into pieces while they had the chance. You're the last one to buy it. Now it's your chance to destroy it. Do it now. Thanks for calling, sir, and have a nice day." The receptionist hung up. Without a question, I picked up the disc and took it to the garbage. I picked up my sledgehammer and smashed the disc into pieces. Then I threw it into the dumpster. It was over. I took Disney's advice very seriously and ended the game's cycle. But there was one question I had in thoughts, a question that remains to have answered. Because of everything Disney said, the motivation behind that scary Lady and the Tramp ROM game was supposed to express Joseph Xavier's hatred for animals and all the crimes he had committed against them. To this day, the mystery remains unsolved. Okay. Wow, this was certainly one story that I've never expected to read for the first time in like nearly 7 years. But I'm just going to go on with this story. So that was Lady.EXE, a Lady in the Tramp gaming lost game creepypasta written by AleksHudock. Um, yeah, my final thoughts on the story. There is a lot of issues that I do need to, explain that why the story isn't that good. But before I go ahead and do that, I am going to sit here and I'm going to be brutally honest and I'm going with the positive sides before I go ahead and sit there and basically explain the issues that this story had. Now, first of all, I am going to sit here and say is that this story had pretty good grammar. Like the grammar was really good. It was readable. I will say it was really good. Good. Like the writing of it was pretty good. I personally really enjoyed how the author put his or her time and effort into the story. It's honestly really good. I personally really enjoy the grammar because the grammar was one of the best things I could say is that it was really well done and written. I mean, sure, there were a few grammatical errors in the story, but they were still pretty good and it was still readable. So I enjoyed reading this. And I definitely do need to sit here and say is that the paragraph structuring and the sentence structuring is pretty good too. And the concept of it is pretty interesting, involving a Lady and Tramp game that was made by an animal abuser, you know, made like a really horrible, messed up game, which I mean, it's pretty messed up because, yeah, if you've read the story, you probably know what I'm talking about. I know, I'm sure some of you guys maybe remember I narrated this back in 2019, and it's been almost 7 years, so I'm reading it again. So, this story was, yeah, it was definitely something. That's literally the best description I can honestly give. Now, I mean, I will give credit to the author that at least they were trying to come up with something original like not just one person who, had a crazy mind, or he wanted to traumatize kids or anything like that. But the fact that the creator was an animal abuser, it honestly makes it believable in a sense. But at the same time, there are still a couple issues that I do need to make a statement of. Well, one of the things I am going to sit here and say is that it is cliched. Like, there is just cliched after cliched, like getting it on eBay, getting a package from eBay, and cliches. There's a lot of cliches that were in this story, and I honestly didn't really care for the cliches at all. I do remember coming across this story back in 2019, and I remember that I wasn't really a fan of it. I'm just being brutally honest. So, yeah. I mean, this story did have potential to be good. I am going to give it that. It did have potential to be good, but unfortunately, that's not the case with this story. As it turns out, the story was just utterly cliched. Now, I know I said it before, but I'll say it again. Um this story, I know I'm talking a bit negative about it, but it was just, there was just cliche after cliche that I could name this story so much, I can name the cliches and state, what's the problem with them. And this story wasn't really the greatest. I'm just gonna sit here and say I will give it credit that the author probably tried to make something new out of it. I'm willing to give him that, but unfortunately, it's not the case with this story. This story was just cliched. Like, I mean, and then there was like this. Oh my god, there was a lot of stuff, about this a real life picture of a dog dead. Like, yeah, I mean, where did they get that from? Clifford the Big Dead Dog? I have no idea. But yeah, I mean, this story could have been better. I will say it did have potential, but that's not the case with this story. This story just went downhill and stuff like that. It just wasn't that great. But, I will sit here and just say it could have had, potential to be good. But that's just not what it is with this story. I'm just gonna sit here and say, well, I will give a benefit of the doubt that it did try to come up with something new, but it's not the case with this story. So that's just that. But anyways, I'm gonna sit here and say this right now, that I do understand that, the story could have had pretty good concept with it, but unfortunately that's not the case. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, but the story was just not that good. That's literally the best thing I can, describe it. But yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna sit here and say I'm pretty drained today. I've been behind on doing narrations, like pre-recording. It's because of the fact that, I'm sitting here trying to, what was it? Oh yeah, I'm sitting here, you know, looking after my dog, and it's tiring because I'm having to do, everything else. So yeah, that's just something I'm just going to be brutally honest about. Like, I've been haven't been, able to record stuff because of the fact that, I've been having to, you know, but anyway, with that set aside, I'm just going to sit here and say, like, I'm always going to say, this is simply my own personal opinion. And if you happen to disagree with it, that's perfectly fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these stories. This is simply my own personal thoughts. Now, I'm going to sit here. I'm just going to give this one a 4 out of 10. Mainly because while the grammar and sentence structuring and paragraph structuring was good. And I will give it benefit of the doubt that this story did try to make it, to have like a decent plot line or anything like that, and tried to make something new despite the cliches. But honestly, the story was still not good. I'm being honest, it was still not good. So that's basically how I can describe it as. So I guess with that being the case, and with that being said, like I'm always going to say, and this is simply my own personal opinion, if you disagree with it, that's perfectly fine too. But anyways, I guess with that being said, I'm going to sit here and wrap up today's video. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell for notifications when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. As always, I will be seeing you all in the next video. Also, let me know what your thoughts are on this story in the comment section down below, because I am generally curious on what you guys think. And as always, I'm just going to sit here and say, I will be seeing you all in the next video. Peace out, and like always, roll the outro because I'm out.
What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, please stay pretty.